This is an impromptu kind of live because I do not have a clue what I'm doing with live video. I am actually running this off of my iPhone, but I also have my laptop running so I can actually see chat a little better. The iPhone does not show chat very well. It kind of shows up then it disappears, shows up then it disappears. I don't really have a plan other than being here live with everyone. So ask questions. I've already had one. Let me go find it because it's way up here. Please explain Dogbone configuration and what we need. They seem to come in a number of different configurations. So let's go into the back and I will show you the electrical and everything if I can. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully you can hear me. The engine is running, so that's probably the noise you're going to hear. Because again, boiling hot. Dogbone right here, this is the kind we got. 30 amp to a normal 15 amp plug like in your homes. Now what I do is we have this, which is, what are these called again? Power Watchdogs, 30 amp Power Watchdogs. And with the Power Watchdog, what I can do is actually plug in the 30 amp into this, and this can go into here like so, and then I put an extension cord on here because I have to get to a farther plug because the plug that's nearby is apparently not grounded well. So this is a, since I still have the tag on it, Power Grip by Camco. Let me go inside where it's slightly less noisy. Slightly. So that is the Camco 30 amp. This is the one we got. This is the one that was recommended. I don't even remember who recommended it. It might have been Sherry or Bob Scott, maybe. So that's the one I grabbed. And like I said, I had to buy a 10 gauge electrical cord, 25 foot I think I got, and it goes all the way to my back wall. I can plug this into that 30 amp into the back, and there you go. Maury Van says a word about extension cords. If it's lengthy, you can get voltage drop. Yes, you can. Had that issue here at home, so I had to bump amps to the system down a bit to keep Watchdog from shutting down. I haven't had to do much with shutting it down. I just do it at 14 amp, even though you could go a little bit down. It doesn't seem to have a problem. I did a test the other day. I was at 35% battery power, and what I did was charge it up to, I think it was 91%, and then I did a little math, as I always do. So for our van, which is the 920 amp master volt, 12 volt system, if you calculate it out, it would probably be 8 hours or so to charge from 0 to 100. Not that I would ever be at 0 or care less about whether or not I get to 100, because we usually drive and the alternator takes care of everything. But we are parked at the driveway at our house a lot because I'm still working, so we don't get to move all over the place in vacation like certain people. We're still kind of stuck at home for a while, for just under another year, although we will be taking a couple of longer trips, just not all the time. Someone asked the other day about why I turn off the battery. It's because it's parked in the driveway and there's no reason to have the battery running a refrigerator that's empty, so I just go ahead and turn the batteries off if I'm not using them, and then when I do need to use them, I turn them on. I charge everything up to 100% or close to it, and then we drive off to wherever we're going to go. I am on the waiting list. Is there a consensus on favorite bug screen and window coverings? I'm going to be honest. I'm not a big fan of Terry screens for a couple of reasons. One, the magnets you've got to get just right for have it to hang, and two, to have the bug screen work on the big door, you have to have the door open and the screen down. You can't close the door. and I want to find some kind of something that will work where you can have the screen always just set up there out of the way. You can open the door, close the door, you can bring the screen down, whatever you want to do. I think that would be something I'd like to have better. The back screen is fine. We don't tend to use it a lot, but yeah, we could lift that up. And that's, I think, the only two screens we've got is the back door and this one, because nothing else opens. All our windows stay shut because we have the split AC, which is running right now. I also have the engine running, like I said, because 100-degree weather. I don't know anything about the other bug screens. I'm looking at bug wall, but honestly, we haven't really need to use bug screens too much yet. Again, we don't travel enough yet to worry about it. The one time we used it, we got it up, it worked, thing was open, everything was fine, but it got so hot out, we had to close the door anyway and start the AC because it was getting hot. And much worse than hot, it's humid in Texas. It's not raining at all, and what's the humidity right now? Oh, actually, humidity is very low today, only 33%. It's been in 80% the last few days. And then it rained, and when it rains, the humidity actually goes down a bit until it stops raining, and then the humidity spikes up because everything starts evaporating. A lot of times we're in 70% plus humidity, and that's pretty high. And we are not near the ocean. I bought the bug wall for the slider door. I like it. Heavy duty magnet zippers you can leave down and close the door, roll it up. Yeah, that's what I'm finding is the bug wall seems to be the one that does that. So we're thinking about that, but that's going to be in the future. We've spent money on things for the van. So about $800, $900, and we don't want to spend any more right now. Security for Power Watchdog. I think I posted a picture. Let me go get it real quick and I'll show you. Power Watchdog. Well, security, I guess it's security. There's this little metal tab thing with holes, and you can just, get a chain and lock it up, or, bike chain, pull it through and lock it up. That's the only security it has. I suppose if someone really wanted to steal this, I'm not sure if that would be a deterrent. It might be. Bike locks are not necessarily that hard to break into, but it slows things down, so, and it looks secure, so it would probably be a good idea. We do not have one yet. We've stayed in, I don't know, 3 or 4 RV parks, and we've never had an issue, so I'm not too worried about it. For those who are going to stay over in Elkhart, well, technically in Union, Michigan, Willow Shores, I think, is the RV park. We did not get good connection. This thing kept going off. The dog would go red. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was a line voltage error, E1. So it would keep going off. So we finally just gave up, unplugged it all, and put it away. And lived off the battery, which was fine. AC lasts, everything lasts, so I'm not too worried about that. We've never really had to worry too much about plugging in because for most of our trips, we drive somewhere. And so that, by the time we get wherever we're going, it's 100%. And the next day, we're going to drive again to another place. The only time that we stayed anywhere extended was in Colorado with family. At their house. They obviously don't have a 30 amp connection, so I just used my extension cord and we plugged in to their house, every few days, a couple days, whatever. Went back to 100 because we were parked there. We didn't really drive. I think we drove once with the van when we were parked. That was it. It wasn't that far. When you're driving, we get charged up pretty quickly. When we're plugged into just household current, like I said, it takes a long time. 12 volt systems, the voltage is the thing that pushes, it moves it. Bad analogy, but basically that is 12 volts, so it's slower when it charges. Scott Watson over at Go Small Live Large has the Volta, which is a 48 volt system. The big advantage of that, it's 48 volts, so it charges much faster. I think he can, even without his whatever he does to make the RPM run really, really high, I think he can charge it up pretty quickly, 4 hours off of a household plug maybe. Whereas ours would probably be about 8 hours. So it still charges up just as much. It's just slower at charging 12 volt. But that's how 12 volt works, and that's how 48 volt works. It's part of the system. It's just how it does things. Volta has a thing where he can run his engine while parked at much higher RPM, which of course makes alternator go faster, spin more, so he can get a pretty fast charge in an hour and a half or two, as far as I understand it. We don't have that with master volt and stuff. They don't set it up that way, which is fine by me. We've never needed it. And if we're parked anywhere and staying and we don't want to plug something in, I can run the engine and it can power up everything. I've noticed when I'm in here with the AC running and I run the engine just to keep the battery topped off, it pretty much stays exactly at the same percentage the entire time. So theoretically, if you had infinite gas, you could run that engine and run your AC and you'd be fine. We've had 2 times that our power either went out completely or our wireless went out completely. I work online, so I have to have wireless going. My job, no excuse for not being online. If your wireless doesn't work, you find a place. You make it work. So instead of driving all the way into town, all I did was start the engine. Ford has their Wi-Fi, Ford Pass, Ford Plus, Ford whatever it's called. It worked flawlessly, no problem at all. Since I was running the engine, I ran the ACs. I think I was only at the time, 42% or something of my battery. By the time I was done 4 hours later, my battery was still at 42%. My gas tank went down, but my AC and my battery didn't really change much at all. So basically the alternator was charging up the battery just as fast as it was using energy. Technically I wasn't really running anything else, but there's not much really to run on an inverter except for the microwave and the plugs. And I think I used the microwave once to make some tea, boil water, whatever, because we were out of power, and I never had to cook anything, so I never had to put the inverter on. So I got little 4 tiny thermometer things all through the van just to see what it is. It's 87 in the front. Apparently in the dark back of the bathroom it's 97, but I get only 28% humidity. I'm amazed it's only 29% now. Went up. I have the back door open though, so the AC is blowing out, not really cooling very well because I've got things open. I can close that, but I'm lazy. And I've got the AC running here. There is our vent, a little circular vent in the front for people who are getting the Dolphin SL, which is our version, which has the sofa bed in the front and a bedroom in the back, both, instead of the 2 long sofas. You can thank me for that AC because it wasn't there when we picked it up. The first night we were saying the airflow wasn't very good, and Terry was talking about getting a little battery operated fan thing, and I was, in my head, I'm going, no, I spent money on this, I don't want to buy a battery operated fan. And he started thinking about it, and he figured out a way to create a vent in the front for the AC. I think now, instead of this little circular thing, there's going to be some kind of a long thing right here that blows the air, and that might be actually a little nicer because it's going to be at your head level, so that's good. This one I can point up, so it's good enough, and it's really for airflow. And it's coming out pretty cool. I have a Etekcity, whatever, voltage detecting infrared thermometer. 75.3. It's coming out, which is cold. Really, it's very nice and cool. And if I didn't have the back doors open, it wouldn't be as hot in here. But they make another one that's 50 amp, which we wouldn't need. They do make one that is 50 amp to 30 amp. So if you wanted something like that, let's say you go to an RV park and they don't have 30 amp, they only have 50 amp, and you're worried about having enough battery power, you can use this one and the 50 amp to 30 amp. So you'd plug the 50 amp into the box at the RV park. The 30 amp would go into the adapter. So you take your 50 amp to 30 amp. 30 amp would go into this. All you need is the 50 amp to 30 amp Dogbone, because the 50 amp would go into the 50 amp box. The 30 amp would go into here, and this would be where you put in for the van, and that's it. So I think I got that right. Yeah, you won't need a Dogbone at Embassy. Embassy has their own 30 amps. Thank you, Amore Van. There is an adapter that Terry gives you. It's a little small round one adapter, and technically yes, that would work. It's just like having a little plug. It basically plugs in the side, and you can plug it into a regular electrical cord. So let's go see if we can't find that adapter. Oh, this is another cool thing I got. If you can see that. Yeah, this donut looking thing actually holds my extension cord. Nice and wrapped up. So, there's the adapter. So let's see. Here's the adapter. See? Boom and boom. So let's see if I can put this somewhere where you can actually see me. There it is. And I can just plug in. Now I can plug into a regular wall socket. This can. So. Or to an extension cord or whatever you want. So, here it is. 30 amp. 15 amp. And so that you can see, this is a Cordpro XL. Okay, and the way it works is the extension cord goes in clockwise, or whatever you want to say, on one side, and pulls it clockwise on the other side. So you can carry your entire thing like this. It's not hanging over your shoulder, heavy dead weight. It's just like this. And I can pull this out, if you'll see. There you go. And I can put it back in really, really easily when I want to store it. There you go. Love this thing. Actually, it's got it on Amazon, just like most of everything else. Oh, and we got ourselves a table and a chair from GCI. Bob, Scott, and I think Sherry also. Bob and Deb and Sherry all recommended this one. We got the rocker one, which has rocker. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little rocking system in the back. So there we go. Now I can rock and relax and go to sleep. And then this table is a plastic lightweight table that folds up very, very small, so we liked it. There's our storage area if anyone's interested. Oh, also got one of these things. Basically, it has a little hard mat that goes under the bed. And now you can have some storage here when you're going to sleep, because I sleep on this end, and I can stick my phone or whatever I want into these pockets. So, little bed buddy kind of thing. My wife actually makes these. That one I bought off of Amazon because I'm lazy, and it was only $8. But my wife has made those, quilted some, so maybe someday I'll replace it with one of hers. So, is that a 10 or 12 gauge cord? That is a 10 gauge cord. Still yellow, but it's 10 gauge. You don't want 12 gauge, you want 10 gauge. Because you are plugging in to take care of 30 amp. Even though it's 15 amp, it plugs all the way to 30 amp. So you need to be able to dissipate that heat. At least that's how I understand it. So yeah, and a 10 gauge cord technically is heavier, but when it's wrapped up all inside that container, the yellow donut thing that I had, it's all in one spot, and it's not unwieldy. So it's still heavy, but it's not unwieldy. I can just carry it by a handle. So I really like that thing. Thank you, Go Small Live Large, for thumbs up. Go see Go Small Live Large, because you know he's got a much better channel than me, and it's more professional, and he knows what he's doing. So it's true. Water filter under sink, brand type. Oh God, I have no idea. Let's go see if we can figure it out. All right, let's see here. Water filter. Oh, I'm old. There we go. Blue. It says blue. No dirty water, blue. I don't know if you can see that. I know nothing else about it. And honestly, I've never touched it. This is one of those things I need to talk to about Terry, like, that's a pretty filter. What do I do with it? And I know you unscrew it and you take care of it, but I need to know if I need to turn water off or what I have to do to, you know, change the direction of the water or whatever. So for anyone who has never seen the inside of this thing, he uses PEX. Red, I don't know if you can see that. There's red down here for hot, blue for cold. And he has this thing, I don't know if you can see that either. Yeah, that right there. That is because it comes out so hot that it mixes with the cold water, because if it didn't, the stuff out of the shower and out of the kitchen sink would probably scald you. So he's got a mixer in there, and I don't touch the mixer. It's set just fine for us, so I didn't have to worry about it. Oh, thank you, Scott, for being here and for supporting Embassy, for supporting the group, for doing all the stuff you do on your channel. That's amazing. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't know about anyone else, but I knew nothing. I probably had researched for about a year before I found Scott's channel and realized there were other people out there, but also that he had found Embassy. And I knew nothing. I'd never seen it, nothing. It wasn't even on my radar. The stuff on my radar was Road Trek, Hymer before it blew up, and the Canadian one, a Pleasure Way. And we were almost got the Hymer, and then everything blew up. And then we were looking at Road Trek, and we were looking at Pleasure Way, and Pleasure Way was like, oh, maybe Pleasure Way. But at the time, their maximum battery power was 200 amp. And they literally were not going to go any higher than that for any reason. Their market was Canada, and it was cold in Canada. And you just didn't need that much battery power or whatever. And then Road Trek for a short time before I saw Embassy. And once we saw Embassy, that was it. So thank you so much, Scott. If you're getting an Embassy, mention Scott's name, because that's how he makes some of his money. So please do that. It helps him, you know, keep doing videos and finding really good whiskeys. So one of these days, by the way, Scott, please try a single malt Scotch. I highly recommend Macallan. And if you want to spend the money, a 20-year-old Macallan. Although a shot will probably cost you at least 20 bucks, so or more nowadays, inflation. So there you go. Enough about Scott. This is about me. What is the best thing about your Embassy RV Dolphin now that you've had it for a couple of months? You name it. Number one, freedom. Number two, freedom. Number three, a close third, freedom. And I think the fourth one is probably freedom. So yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Our power went out a few weeks ago, and I have to be online. I ran the engine for Wi-Fi. I had a microwave, I had a fridge, and I was able to do my work. I have to be online. There's no excuse for not being online, because that is my job, is to be online. So I would either have to drive about half an hour to an hour in city traffic to get to one of the campuses, and then try to arrange a room somewhere so I can have enough privacy to be online to talk to students. I'm an online advisor, so you can't just be out in the open because you're talking to students. That would have been a giant headache. Instead, all I had to do was walk out here, and it was a lifesaver. So, and actually, I'm kind of serious when I say freedom, because if we're just in the mood, we can get in the van and just go somewhere. And even though we don't have a lot of opportunities to do that, we can. Weeks ago, I had, well, actually for Christmas, we bought tickets to see Johnny Mathis in Galveston, which is about an hour and a half away, 2 hours to 3 hours with traffic. And we were looking for hotels, we were going to do all that, but then we had our van, and it was like, we just drove our van down there. We had food, we had a bathroom, we had a place to sleep. We had to pay for parking anyway, so we just parked literally steps away from where we needed to be in a big parking lot. And they're like, yeah, you can stay overnight. So for $8, did not have to be plugged in at all because we have our 920 amp master volt. Not a problem. We ran the AC. Everything was wonderful. We were still having some of our weird issues with AC back then, but we got it to work. And we got it to work so well, we were freezing cold. It worked so cold. It got so cold in there. So we actually had to get up and turn it off. That's one thing with the AC system in the embassy. Hopefully someday, maybe they're going to have some kind of a control button so we don't have to get out of bed to turn it on and off, or to turn it up or whatever. That would be nice. Right now, we have to open one of the cabinets and turn it off, or change the temperature and then come back to bed. And since I'm on the far end, I don't want to wake up my wife, so I sit there and get too cold. So, and we didn't bring blankets. So that was a fun night. But live and learn. And I'm still waiting for a certain person who runs Go Small, Live Large to come see us. You know, I mean, he's gone to Georgia to go see my daughter, but he doesn't come to Houston to see us. So, you know, I mean, I get it. I know how I rate. Yeah, I know. Fine. Whatever. Anyway. AC decibel levels. I don't know how you hear the AC in here. I've got the engine running, so part of that is part of that noise. But we have the AC here. I'm going to bring the phone. You can probably hear it louder now. If I open up this cabinet, maybe. Oh, you kind of sort of hear it a little bit over there. So, I don't know if I have the inverter on it. I think I do. Yeah, the inverter's on, so that might be part of the noise too. The inverter, remember, if it runs hot, it needs to run its fan to keep things cool. I did some tests. I have an app called NIOSH-SLM, which means National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health Sound Level Meter. I like that one because, one, the NIOSH made it, and I can run and get dBAs, which is decibel equivalent sound pressures for human, what it would be for humans. And I can run it for 15 seconds, and I can get what the worst level would be during that 15 seconds. So when I did this, the outdoor level, let's see here, went from 63 decibels all the way up to 73 decibels. That's with the AC running. Just the AC, nothing else, not the engine. The worst was 73. That was literally measured at exactly 3 feet away from the van, right next to the AC. And that would be the highest, most noise you'd get. That said, with nothing running at all, no engine, no nothing, and I just had the app going just to see what the sound was outside, it was already at 52 decibels. So we're only talking about 21 decibels more. The split system will be louder outside than an AC that is on the top of the roof, because condenser and everything is out there. It will be not quite as loud on the inside. So Scott has, oh, I can't remember what AC you have. You have one on the roof, but I can't remember the model, sorry. But I've noticed that his AC, at least on the videos, is louder. Our AC, really, I don't hear the AC at all. What I usually hear is the fans blowing and the inverter if it has to have a fan running. And then our engine if we have to have that. Otherwise, I really don't hear much. The worst inside was in the kitchen area with the AC running, but nothing else, at 59.6 decibels. And remember, that's the highest level. It was as low as 30 and 35 and that kind of thing as well. So it just depends on where it is on its cycle, that kind of stuff. But I wanted to know worst case scenario. So other examples, I ran that app in our kitchen and in our family room and in our bedroom, all right around 32 decibels. We went to the mall, a crowded mall, and in the hallways of the mall, it was about 68 decibels, and in the store, it was about 74 decibels. So I am in the kitchen area, and this is theoretically where the loudest noise would be for AC running. Nothing else running, I guess. Well, the fridge, but the fridge doesn't make that much noise. Sorry, back to window coverings. Any favorites? Window coverings, again, we have just some of that reflective stuff that Terry gave us that we put up. And since we don't ever look out that window, that one's always up. The one here usually is not covered up unless we stay somewhere and we're parked somewhere, because I like to be able to see out that window when I'm backing out and stuff like that. So again, we just use Reflectix and go with that. And I'm sure there's some really fancy window coverings, but we're fine. I don't really worry about the window coverings too much. The built-in screens work great for the sides. I like the design of the big window covering for the main windshield that Terry made. It has these big straps that go on the, whatever you call those things, sunshade things. And it's easy to put up. The side windows, again, little magnets, you got to get them fairly right, but it's not a big deal. We don't care. If we really wanted to block off the cab, we had Terry put in little hooks, so we can actually take the shower curtain and put that up. And for anyone who saw that post I had with the temperatures all around inside the cab area, inside the van, the cab area is the most hot. It's the hottest area of the entire cab. So if you have something to block it off to help keep that heat away, that's going to cool you down a lot faster. Also, since we are in the SL, we have a not so open floor plan. So if you want an open floor plan in an Embassy, the S is probably the way you want to go, although you really can only sleep 2 people. The reason we wanted the 2 rooms was, one, sometimes my wife wants to be alone, or I want to be alone, or whatever. Also, this turns into a bed, so we can have 4 people if we want in this van, sleeping in this van. I don't know if long trips with a small van and 4 people would be fun, but you can do it. I was looking at Scott's Travato for quite a while because I really liked the bed coming down and all that kind of stuff, but for us, that bed was way too small. I don't know about Scott's view, but it was way too small for us. Probably why we didn't do Travato. We had rented the KL, which was the 2 beds, and we really liked that one. And the heating on that was really good because it was cold that night. But the bed situation didn't work for us, so that's why we did the Embassy. And when we knew we could do 2 rooms, that worked out really well for us. But it also means there's walls, so it's not really open. You have kind of a crab crawl a little bit in the going from the back to the front or front to the back. In the Embassy, the Dolphin S, you don't have that problem, I don't think. Oh, everyone wants to chip in to give Scott Watson some Macallan Red. Go see his videos. He has one of those dollar sign thingies. You can click on that and you can give him money. Made your own window coverings. Greg Johnson made their own window coverings. You have talent. I have no talent. So My wife was thinking of making some reflective, because on the outside, fabric on the inside. That would work. Slides between the window and the embassy window shade, yeah. Anyone attending this Hershey RV show next week? GSLL Roundup, Saturday 17th September at 11 a.m. in General RV Travato booth to say hello. What's General? Oh, General RV Travato booth to say hello. Embassy RV is not attending that show. Embassy RV doesn't attend shows. I don't know. So, I think all of us should attend shows with embassies. Free advertising for Terry, and he can give us free stuff. Have you tried using the TV antenna, Roku or Apple TV? We have turned on the TV with the antenna going. With the antenna, it is not 12 volt. You have to have the inverter running. So that you do have to have that running because it's plugged into the wall, so it's 120. Our television is 12 volt. So if we wanted to, you know, shoot stuff into it, or however that's magically done, or I don't know if I think the Sony actually works, the little Blu-ray thing works without 120, I'm not sure. But we could run that. Otherwise, we haven't used it. We don't have Roku or Apple TV yet. I'm thinking of possibly just getting a Fire Stick and plugging it, and then there you go. I wanted to say just real quick about miles per gallon. Watch how fast you go. The faster you go, the much less mileage you are going to get. On our big long trip, the worst we had was 10.8 miles to the gallon, and our best was 15.3. And needless to say, that's when we were going 70, was our 10.8. So Grace First Show, thank you very much, Greg. Thanks, Robert. See everyone Tuesday. Have a great time tonight. Thank you, everyone. Be seeing you. I wonder how you turn this thing off. Hey, stop streaming. There it goes. Have fun. See you.